back to another edition of Tech in the City. I'm your host, Yvonne Pilon, President and CEO of WEtech Alliance. And we are in a new space today. We are in the WEpodcast space. So I've got an amazing guest that we're going to get to. But I wanted to give you, again, a rundown of what Tech in the City is. And this is a new podcasting. We're going the podcasting route. It's a segment where we're going to talk about local technology that's, that's trending right now that, again, doesn't have just our local community buzzing, but the world. We're going to bring you topics talking about artificial intelligence. So just recently, a robot got citizenship in Saudi. Her name is Sophia. So things are changing, and we want to bring some of this technology sizzle to the airwaves of YQG. But today, because we're bringing Tech in the City to a new company called WEpodcast. We thought it would be just great to bring in one of the creators behind this, Justin Gagnon, who is joined us today to talk about WEpodcast and some of the content and really how does this benefit our community, and again, what is this whole thing about podcasting. So Justin, welcome to our first show.
Thank you.
Yay. So just to get started, I know if I called my dad right now and I said, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to be, doing a podcast," he would have no clue what that is. And I think as we're here, we've got mics in front of us and we have a camera. So traditionally, podcasting's been more radio. So maybe you can talk what is podcasting and kind of some of the trends we're seeing on why this is even, becoming a trend in terms of content.
Okay. First off, as much as I'm a part of this and creator of this, I'm nervous to actually do it myself. Podcasts are traditionally audio. They go all the way back to the 80s. They were called audio blogs back then. About 2004, they took off because of iPods. That's where the word podcast comes from. They've gotten more popular now because of smartphones. Everyone's got a smartphone. So people want to listen to what they want to listen to when they want to listen to it. And that's why they've gotten so popular. So basically, I would tell your dad that it's audio file, or no, I wouldn't say that because I would say.
He is not the tech guy. He's texting though, so it's pretty exciting.
It's a show about specific content. That's where basically it's better than, well, not better than radio. It's where radio could never do it because some of the topics are so obscure that you couldn't have enough airtime to do all the shows. So I guess I would say that it's just it's whatever you want it to be. You search anything out there, there's a podcast for it. Doesn't matter what it is.
I learned that because yesterday in prep for this, I was, Googling about podcasts and I couldn't believe how many there were.
Yeah.
And and just some trends, right? You have connected cars now. So where all of our, Bluetooth is connecting. So content is readily available. The other interesting fact was that there's a quite equal representation of people who listen to. So male, female, it was almost 50-50 on who's listening to podcasts.
For sure.
And I'm curious to see if it's just a millennial thing. Because I know, I'm in the millennial demographic and I'm loving podcasts, right? I love the radio, but I also love content.
So I guess I got the idea for, I got interested in podcasting. Everybody heard the word, like I said, 2004. And I never really got onto it until I was listening to the radio and they switched their time format in the morning. It was like, I drive in from the county to Windsor from 6 till 7 or whatever it was. And the show switched from 7 till 8. And then I'm like, well, what do I do now?
Yeah.
So I can't really record radio and listen to it. So I had to get into podcasting. So I Googled it once and then I found a world of everything you could ever want. And the best part is I get out to pump the gas and it stops.
Yep.
I don't miss that part. And I was in construction for a long time. So I would be on the site and somebody be playing the radio. You could barely hear what they're saying over the tools and whatnot. So it's like, well, just put headphones in and then I can listen to the show and I don't miss a thing. And it's what I want to listen to.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with radio, but you kind of force fed whatever they're talking about. Maybe I just want to hear about, like, I'm a Game of Thrones fan, so I listen to a Game of Thrones podcast.
Winter is coming.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's perfect as a great segue because you talked about, my next question was, what is WEpodcast? And really what inspired you? So this was kind of like you wanted content that was specific to you and available to you when you wanted to listen to it. So I imagine that's kind of the inspiration on how WEpodcast came about. But what is WEpodcast? Okay,
so the idea was in the States right now, there's 5 big networks that are starting up. And what they do is they gather everybody up together and, try to put good podcasts together, right? So you can go to one spot and have them all. You don't have to search. If you had a podcast on your own, I would have no way of finding it unless I followed you on Facebook or something like that. But to be able to go to one spot, so it's become very popular in networks. I guess I Googled it and a few popped up around here, but they were very few and far between. And I thought, well, what if I wanted to hear some local content? I can find any podcast across the world. Anybody else can too. But what if I wanted to find some local stuff here? Let's make one based on that completely. Windsor, Essex, where you've got some really talented people. We've got you guys now on, and a lot of other great shows. Just something different, and I think that it's really going to take off in other cities in Canada too. Because like I said, Detroit has one. Detroit's is a little different though, because it's more of a booth that you can go in and anybody can do it. We'd like that too, but except we want to have more quality content, more control over, not 5 shows that are exactly the same and not very good. More like a controlled environment on good stuff, so that people are getting what they pay for.
I remember when I walked in here the first time, and I was really blown away at the amount of technology and the the infrastructure that you have here. I mean, we've got an amazing green screen, and I get excited and geeked out about technology. But it's funny because you talk about, the need for local content, and you think about social media, and we've got radio and paper, and they all play a role, but there still seems to be this disconnect with information getting to citizens, because there's so many events that I go to and people find out after, like, I had no clue about that. So I don't know if it's like a Facebook algorithm problem that we're not seeing this content, and that's what again I love about WePodcast is, again, it's the ability to listen to localized content, obviously with global discussions as well, but it's again that one-stop shop to local content. So on the topic of content, we're talking about technology and business. That's not for everyone. We know that. So what are the other partnerships that you have built, you want to build? So like, I know you're involved with Snapped, and there's a night terror show and there's some really cool like music stuff. So tell us more about the content that people can listen to and see on WePodcast.
Okay. Well, we were really happy to get Snapped on board. They wanted to expand their brand. Basically talk more about their stories a little bit more in depth with Dan Brown and Jeff Casey. Then we got CMHA with Jenny Lee. She's got a show about mental health. Like, to be able to hear a local person talk, that you could actually go talk to them and be open about it, know that they're from here, not across the world. Like, that's, a lot of people really were receptive to that. There's Corey Robertson has an agriculture show for like farming and whatnot. Also, New Music Today. He brings in a very talented artist every single week. These are so many shows now.
That's a good thing. That just shows that there's lots of content for like all ages, all interests.
Yeah.
And you're growing that, right? And we talked before, we started this today, was, what kind of content are you looking for?
Basically, anything that's local, but we don't mind if you veer off. It's just that you're a local personality saying something that you like. Like, we've got some comedy shows. There's a cosmetic show. There's food shows. There's beer and wine locally. There's even a video game show. There's, it just goes on. And you'd think that you've filled up the categories, and no. Just more and more and more. But at the same time, we don't want the same of everything either. So everybody works very hard here.
So if someone was interested and thought they had a great topic, they could just connect, go visit, whether you be online or just through social media.
Absolutely.
And I know too, people, it's a great opportunity to talk about, to build your brand, etc. But there's a lot of time and effort that goes into this. That's something that, people need to realize, that you can't just come on the show and talk.
That's true.
You need to be, prepared. 90% of success is being prepared. As I have my notes here, so proof. But yeah, so you're looking for, not only good content, but people who also can speak well, and who
I'm
are
not one
going
of
to
those
do.
people.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. This is great. We should combine tech in the city with like beer and wine talk.
Yeah.
That could be
I
really
want
fun.
crossovers.
Yes, you know what? We should do that because I know, and again, in the tech world, again, a huge geek or nerd, whatever you want to call it, but you know, technology bridges everything. It's in every sector. So, and that's what I love. And you see these small businesses leverage technology and use technology. So when I see our community like bringing stuff like this, a new platform of content, I get excited. So, and I'm losing the train of my thoughts. So, my next question. Okay, so you know, yes, we're talking about tech, but a lot of WEtech, you know, we're in the tech sector, but we work with entrepreneurs. And you know, I was in an event this week, and one of the keynote speakers talked about all of her failures. And I think we don't do that often enough with entrepreneurs. Is recognizing what they've, you know, the challenges they overcome to get where they are. So, you know, what are the lessons you could tell our local entrepreneurs, whether they're tech or not, on some of the challenges that you faced? And obviously we're here today, so you overcame them, but that they don't have to go through that. So if you could teach them a few things on your experience bringing WEpodcast here, what would they be?
Surround yourself with the right people. Our team, there's a few.
Who is on your team?
We got Ted Daher, Manny Malecki, Ron Dunn's involved. We got Joe. We don't know what we do without Joe Little.
And I love that Joe is a graduate of St. Clair College's tech program. So awesome to see some local talent. Again, this is what's great. You have your founders and your team, but then you're also bringing in that tech talent to help.
We have
build
interns
out,
from St. Clair now
which
that
is
are helping,
awesome.
and they were really excited. They're like, "Wow, this is new what you guys are doing." And you know, we didn't want to just be audio because it's kind of I don't know, with the phones
I had to
now.
do my hair today. Thank you very much.
We don't have very many shows that are just audio. I'd have to say 80% of them are all video because you can be anywhere you want. It's the possibilities are endless. What I would want is more. I'm kind of veering off topic. Is more.
That's okay. We can go. I got my train of thought. I know where we're going.
Because this is kind of like Netflix. I want more fiction.
Yeah.
Why can't
Stranger
this be?
Things?
Yeah.
That's like the big thing right now.
Yeah. Why couldn't this be like a more of a? I don't want to say television station because television sort of keeps you here, but it can be anything. Like that night terror show we have now is completely fiction. The fact that it's local talent still makes it local, but the amount of work they put into the sound effects and every show is really doing that now too. But to go back to what you said about the entrepreneurs, and you just got to keep believing in what you're doing, no matter what. Because
I'll be honest, how many people did you in this adventure, you know, this journey, say, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this? This is not going to work." You said,
I still
but
say
no,
it.
and it happens. I hear that all the time. And all these entrepreneurs, when they started, people are like, "You are ridiculous for starting this. It's never going to work. It's not going to work." And like I can only imagine you can't wait to be like, "Aha! Like it worked." Like, you know what?
It's like you see other people doing it, so you know it's successful. But Windsor Essex is a tough cookie.
Yeah, we are. So if you make it here, I feel like you can make it anywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, paper was the way it started.
Yeah.
Then radio.
Yeah.
Then television, and then smartphones.
Yeah.
And that's where we come in, right? Like Netflix is pretty much taking over television.
Yeah.
So
Blockbuster must be kicking themselves
yeah,
in the butt.
exactly. So to go back to what you said again was just keep pushing, you know, believe in it. If you don't believe in it, you're not going to convince anybody else.
And that's what I think makes a great entrepreneur, right? You never do something for money. You do something because
right.
you love it and you have a passion
Exactly.
for it. So passion, you know, where do you see WEpodcast in like even a year or 5 years? Like what's your ultimate dream? Is it to be the Netflix of Windsor Essex, or what's your dream for WEpodcast?
Actually, I want other cities to adopt it too.
Okay.
And that doesn't have to be us.
So franchise model type thing? Like it would...
But it doesn't even have to be us that's growing for that reason. Just see what it is. Like, we know that the other radio stations have podcasts, and we love it. Like, AM800 has a podcast, CBC, because it's just a better way to get, like, you're getting through the airwaves. It seems kind of outdated. If everything else is internet, why wouldn't you get all your entertainment from the internet? So I kind of want other cities to adopt it too, and then it will become the norm. Like, trying to convince people, like you said, you're talking to your dad about what it is.
He's going to watch my show, or
Of
this
course.
show, for sure.
I mean, you have shows now that you air on the internet, right?
Yeah.
So the good part about this is the app, basically you download it, let's do it on the go. But we're we're powerless without every show together. Lots of shows, because if it was just me by myself doing it one show, it's not impossible. There's other shows in town that are doing very well, but they just it's just to make it easier. Let's all go to one spot. That's where everything is, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And again, going back to local, I mean, I think, you know, you look at the millennial demographic, and we love to support local. We want to know local, right? And a platform that, again, that's bringing local content, I think is amazing. So thank you for sharing your struggles. I know it's not easy. And one of the things that, you know, we're trying to implement at the office is kind of like a golden plunger award, where we recognize failures, because, you know, we don't do it enough, and you learn so much from it. Right. So I think there will probably be some entrepreneurs listening to this, and they're going to say, you know, you may have given them kind of the motivation to keep going. So, okay, so we know what WePodcast is. We have an idea of content. You can check. You're out on, you know, Twitter. You're on Instagram, Facebook, and you've obviously got a website. It's www.wepodcast.ca.
WEpodcast.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So, and does the we stand for Windsor Essex?
Yes,
I assume?
It does.
Okay, just checking. You
but
never know.
It's also like
yes, and that's
we are
like,
podcasting.
Exactly.
The people are podcasting. Not,
exactly. Yeah, we as a community.
That's right.
100%. So. People love this content. They're like, yes, I would love to subscribe to WePodcast. How do people do that? How much does it cost?
So you go to the website and you sign up. There's right now, I think you can get it for, if you sign up for the year, you get 2.5 months free. It's only $2.99. It's just enough to run this studio, you know, to get everybody together to do all this.
He's not wearing a Rolex, people, so don't worry. Not yet. We'll get you there.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not it's not out to make a ton of money. It's just out to
but it's okay
provide
to make
a service
profit.
for people. Of course.
Of course. So $2.99 a month. Right now you have 2.5 month free. So in an annual, because you can probably do it monthly or annually.
Monthly is $2.99.
$2.99.
Right. And then it's like I said, to do it for the year, you're getting over 20 shows, and we've even added music shows. Today we're releasing country channel and a rock channel, but we have like hits of the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000, hits of today, and we're going to keep adding more and more music. Like next week's like One Hit Wonders channel. It's just, in case you're tired of hearing people talking, which people are probably tired of hearing me talk right now, turn on some music. And
so it's not just podcasts, you have music as well.
Music channels too now.
Roughly just over $20 annually, correct? Roughly?
Yeah.
So like people, we really need to think about this. Local content, supporting local for about 12 coffees.
Yeah.
For 12 coffees, let's say average medium coffee at Tim Hortons is about, you know, $2 with tip. Yeah. So again, 12 coffees, and you get an annual subscription to this great.
And you're not just getting like some garbage.
Yeah.
You're getting stuff from your community that you never knew existed, like the wine show, and the beer show, the food show. They're all talking about local stuff that you would, I'm sure you can go on the internet and look it up, but to actually get somebody's take on it, you know, I feel like I've left out so many of the good shows, like
but we can go on the website. Yeah, YQG
Talks.
Talks. Yeah, Sierra and Brent, and I know Gabby was just on, and great again talking about what's going on in the community. And it's an app, right? So you download the app, so it's available for both the iPhone and then Androids, right? And I think you were mentioning too that you can basically subscribe into your iTunes so that all the podcasts move over. Is that working out?
Yeah.
So stay tuned. You will be able to do that soon.
Yeah, basically.
So I think that'll help kind of just push it through your iTunes.
That's the other biggest struggle, is getting people comfortable with they're used to iTunes. That's what they do. And a lot of people won't try something new. But once you get used to it, like there are bugs. There's always gonna be bugs. Yeah. We're working them out. But like to be able to get in your car every day and have all of your favorite shows that you downloaded, and you'll start listening to them. Like, I know these guys, and now I listen to them, and I was almost like meeting a celebrity when you talk to them. You're like, that show was so good you did last night. And
people are gonna ask for your autograph after this.
I don't think so.
I think so. Well, it's really great. Again, I truly believe, and WEtech believes in partnerships, right? And that it's not about taking a bigger piece of the pie. It's building the pie, like getting a bigger pie.
Absolutely.
And what I love, again, I keep saying this, and again, I love local, and everyone knows that, is all these partnerships, you know, just amplify the WePodcast name. And I think it's a great way to build an organization. not the last question, but we're talking about podcasts, so I'm curious to see what you listen to. What are your outside of WePodcast? What are your other podcasts? Loves?
And that's another thing too. You get into a groove of listening to certain ones. Like I said before, I do listen to a Game of Thrones one. I listen to a network out of New York, and there's various comedy ones. There's a skeptic one I listen to. There's a couple that are just comedians basically talking or whatever. To name them off, it's just too many to name.
But obviously avid podcast listener.
Yes, absolutely.
I know myself.
I could never go back.
Yeah. I've been involved. I'm not in the car that often, and I need to get, and I haven't been to the gym in a while, so I listen to it at the gym. But I know for me, I'm a huge fan of Girl Boss Radio, which is Sophia Amoruso, who I adore her. But there's so many. And again, you Google it, and like I always say, like Google everything, top, if you love, leadership or sports, all you got to do is Google top sports podcasts and you get it and stuff. But now we're going to be able to localize that content, which is phenomenal. So I'm curious, did we miss anything about WePodcast? Is there anything else you want to share?
You covered your show, right?
Yeah, well, we're gonna talk a little bit about what's coming up with WEtech, but I want to, really again, I thought this would be a perfect way to start off our segment.
Absolutely.
Again, is introducing that Tech in the City is coming to WePodcast, and also again, what is WePodcast? Because again, we're people in the know. We're involved with a lot of the Snapped and Arms and CTV and all the media, but there's a lot of people that just they're thirsty for local stuff, right? So bringing you on this show, and you did great, by the way. You were nervous. I'm going to let you host the show from now on. Just bringing the knowledge of what is WePodcast. And I think if you ever go to Windsor Public Library, the building across the street, you'll see the big WePodcast.ca. That's actually how I found this place. You're well branded. And again, it's a great facility. Is there any opportunities for people to come in and check this out? Or
if they were to, there's an info at WePodcast.ca if they wanted to come in or whatever, would be happy to. I was going to say something. I forget what it was. I have a newfound respect for the people that do this. Having sat here right now, it's not as easy as just going up there and I listen to these shows and I do, I'm going to approach the shows differently now.
Yeah.
Having done this, sitting up here nervous.
You're always learning. That's that's a really good thing. So, Justin, thank you. I know this is not your typical. You're usually behind the other side of the green
I'm a
screen.
Listener.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But today you get to meet Justin, and again, I think you should be acknowledged, you and your team, and your tech team on the amazing work you're doing and are going to continue to do. Tech in the City. This is our introductory segment. What we want to bring you in the future are, again, really great stuff. Artificial intelligence, talking about robots. What's the future of technology? Things are growing. Sony just patented a contact lens that allows you to record and take photos, which is just absolutely insane. We've got some great companies here that are growing and growing that are, not only impacting our local community, but are impacting the world, which is so exciting. So, and we want to share, best practices for tech entrepreneurs. So we really want this to be lots of sizzle in this show. I always say I want to be, this show to be, something that everyone takes part of, because technology is everywhere, and it's not just for tech people. We will not get technical in this show. I promise you. We're going to talk really layman's terms. And I do want to share something great coming up, because I know kind of WePodcast is a part of it. We're hosting the first ever Tech Week, YQG, November 13th through 17th. So that's a little bit why I've got these bags under my eyes. It's our team's been working really hard with our partners. It's a week fully immersed in technology. So you can go to www.techweekyqg.com. We've got a live Facebook panel talking about the state of technology. This whole Amazon discussion has really sparked an interest in technology innovation in our community. And for us, this is like Christmas, like Santa came early, because we're talking about the need for tech talent. We're talking about needs for good infrastructure and really what tech, these giant tech companies can do for a community. So I know it's on my Christmas list. It's for Jeff Bezos to say Detroit Windsor as as his selection. I'm buying everyone Echoes, the Amazon Alexa. It's their artificial intelligence little gadget. So, but yeah, so Tech Week's coming up. Lots to, anyone, there's a whole week planned. I won't go through it because you can check it all out on our website. Again, www.techweekyqg.com. We also have some great giveaways during that week, and WEpodcast will be giving out some free month subscription to this awesome podcasting group. So I think that concludes our first episode.
We have a number too you can call to reach any show.
Sure.
It's 1-844-519-TALK.
Okay.
Just call it, leave a message, say
Sure.
who the show you're leaving
Sure.
to, say what you don't like, say
Yeah.
what you want to see.
Yeah.
We're all ears.
So feedback's important. So if you love this show, you have comments, or I know for us, we'd love to hear what you want us to talk about. Do you struggle with your iPad? Do you want to talk about the latest, the best tech gadgets to get your kids for Christmas? There's lots of great content. We'd love to get it from you because you're the listeners. We thrive on you and we want to bring you great content. So again, call that number, leave a message. But this concludes our first Tech in the City with WEpodcast. So thank you for tuning in, and we will talk to you and see you later.